since 2008 and even before that, the forte of wisdom has become the central bank. For every crisis, the world is looking to central bankers. And lo and behold, today I have with me 37 years of central bank experience. Central bank governors, Dr. Rangarajan, Dr. Bimal Jalan, Dr. Reddy and Dr. Subbarao with me. So the epitome of wisdom is here with me. Gentlemen, thank you very much for this signal honor that you are giving me of speaking with me. Well, I promised you all that I will keep this very, very non-controversial. So I'm going to start with a completely non-controversial topic. Finance ministers. Relation between RBI and finance ministers are extremely non-controversial. So I'm starting with that. Well, Dr. Jalan, you had raised the relation between RBI and finance ministry to a fine art. You never came into the area of controversy. So I'm going to start with you. How did you manage that, sir? We are told that the RBI and finance ministry are usually at loggerheads. But how did you manage to be on the same side?
Sorry to interrupt you. Yes. But this is not, a correct way that finance ministry and RBI are at loggerheads. Yes. You see, I will say that you take your editorial office. There will be differences of views. So there are differences of views depending on, what circumstances there are and what is from monetary policy point of view or fiscal policy point of view or political point of view, what is tenable, what is not tenable. So differences of views are not the issue. But I would say, and for your audience in particular, that by and large, the relationship has been extremely cordial and very good. Not that there were no differences of views, and tough decisions, as you said, had to be taken sometime, and they were taken with the concurrence of the government.
All of us have independent views about independence.
Exactly.
Okay.
I think that itself shows that each governor has his own way of looking at independence. I think that's how it should be. There is no set pattern. It depends on the institutional context, the challenges, the individuals, and the styles. So I think it will be wrong to generalize about the relation.
But you said once that a central bank which always disagrees is obnoxious, and a central bank which always agrees is superfluous.
I agree with that.
So,
and I think the ministers also will agree with that.
No, but does it make for a healthy relation, or can it become an infructuous relation?
No, I'm sure it is healthy, because the purpose of creating a central bank and convincing people that we have handed over the most important matters of money and finance to a somewhat independent body. So it's the government which has created a central bank to convince the people that they are apolitical, they are longer term. Be assured the value of money is in safe hands, finance is safe hands. So it's been created by the central bank, by the government. So it is in the government's interest to convince the people that it is so. And it is in the interest of the central bank itself to show to the people.
You and Dr. Manmohan Singh had perhaps the best of relationship. And the maximum reforms happened when one central banker was the finance minister and you were in the central bank. So is it that reforms happen best when central bankers become finance ministers?
No, you see, let me say that there was a real crisis before the country. In fact, a balance of payments crisis created because of ourselves is somewhat different from a balance of payments crisis which is imposed on us because of external factors. I think handling the earlier one is a little more difficult. And if I may say so, we could not afford the luxury of a fight between the governor and the finance minister at that time. But having said that, let me say that these are somewhat different institutions. Obviously, the Reserve Bank of India is not part of the government in the sense in which a ministry is part of the government. There is a certain role for the Reserve Bank of India, and it has to play that particular role. And in playing that role, it will have some views and opinions which will not necessarily coincide with the government, which has a lot of political association. Therefore, it is to be expected that even when the objectives are the same, there could be differences.
Yes.
But one other point which really comes up is that if there is no clarity on the objectives, then the problem becomes even more complicated. Therefore, if you say that the Reserve Bank of India is expected to do this, that, then there is much less scope for conflict. But, as I said, two independent or two autonomous organizations can have differences of opinion on problems that confront the economy.
It is up to the institution and the governor to stand up for what he believes should be done in pursuit of the Reserve Bank's objectives. I agree with what all my predecessors have said, which is that there are bound to be differences between the government and the Reserve Bank. Those differences are important in areas where the Reserve Bank is supposed to have autonomy.
Is it a good idea to have 3 years plus 2 years, or is it better, as you were getting, a fixed term of 5 years? Dr. Subbarao, do you think 3 years is enough? Should the minimum term be longer?
I think the minimum term should be longer. Well, from my own experience and the experience of what's happened with other governors, I would say that a governor should be given a straight short 5-year term, and it should also be a one-term non-renewable. I think that'll be good because having a governor for 10 years is too long, certainly too long in our system, and I always believed, especially from my long experience in the IAS, that the institution benefits from change in leadership. Even if an extremely competent leader is changed after 5 years by a less competent person, I still believe that change of leadership contributes positively to the institution. So I think we should have a 5-year term, non-renewable, so that it's very predictable, and they have 5 years is a long enough time for a governor to lay out his agenda, implement it, and also set the course for the successor governor.
Yours, sir? No. Exactly. I wanted your view on it.
You know, this used to be discussed even when we were drafting the plans. How long should it be? We have had 5-year plans.
Yes.
And asked why 5? As somebody remarked, 4 is too short and 6 is too long.
Okay.
Therefore, there is no particular way of defining what the tenure should be. But taking everything into account, if you entrust a responsibility to somebody, he or she must have the time to initiate changes and to bring about the desired changes to a large extent. And considering from that angle, 5 years appears to be the right thing.
The better thing.
And I also think that the appointment should be for the 5 years in the first instance itself.
Okay. And non-renewable? That would be genuinely perhaps independence promoting?
Because I have found that in non-renewable cases, it has always been slightly longer. Okay. I mean, I think if it is 6 years, it should not be renewable.
No, it's very important. It's a very important issue.
In 5 years, I do not know. I'm not very sure. But 5 years must be given, and that's reasonable.
Reasonable. Sir?
No. I mean, I think that there can be differences of view.
Yes.
But let us say that 5 years or something. But non-renewability, I don't agree with. I'm not saying that 5 years should be renewed for 5 years.
Okay.
You see, what I'm saying is that it depends on the circumstances, it depends on what we are doing, and these are all institutions of our governance system, and it's of utmost importance that we should not try to say that for 5 years you are the king and then you disappear.
Okay.
So well, you should do.
Okay.
What is
I just want one word on banking because you said that. I'm not asking Dr. Reddy about the term because he anyway got a 5-year term. So we will pass that question on term. But do you think, sir, that public sector banks now were an institution of a previous era, and now we have to think afresh on public sector banks altogether? The concept, I'm not finding fault with people.
No, I think the broader question is the way the governance of the public sector institutions engage in commercial activities have to function in our economy. That's the bigger issue. You can't have a competition and have public sector institutions bound by different sets of laws, different sets of disciplinary action. I think that's Article 14, extension of Article 14 to public sector institutions indulging in commercial activities, unless we solve that bigger issue. And so public sector banks issue is a subset of the bigger issue.
Take your point, sir. If public sector banks have to compete with commercial banks, private banks, Article 14, equality of opportunity and equality under the Constitution should not apply to them. Yes, they cannot be commercially competitive if they did so. I know I've ambushed your time without giving you prior warning. Thank you very much, Dr. Subbarao, Dr. Reddy, Dr. Jalan and Dr. Rangarajan.